Welcome to Courts Today by LiveLaw, your daily roundup of the most important legal developments from across the country. I'm Debojit Das, and today we bring you a full docket. From bail hearings in serious conspiracy cases to the rights of transgender and disabled persons, and judicial commentary on the misuse of state powers. Let's begin with the Supreme Court, which has deferred the hearing of bail pleas filed by activist Umar Khalid and three others in the Delhi riots' larger conspiracy case. This case, lodged under the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, has been dragging on for over 4 years without charges being framed. Interestingly, the latest adjournment to September 19th came after the presiding judges expressed their difficulty in taking the cases today, as they received the files only at 2:30 last night. The repeated delays are concerning. Not only do they prolong the uncertainty and incarceration of the accused, but they also raise serious questions about the pace and efficacy of our criminal justice system, especially in high-profile cases such as this one. While national security is paramount, justice delayed is justice denied, and the balance between speedy trial and thorough investigation remains elusive. In a move aimed at preserving the sanctity of courtrooms, the Supreme Court has now barred photography and videography inside court halls and high-security zones across India. The order came in response to complaints from bar associations about increasing incidents of individuals taking selfies, recording videos, and even making Instagram reels within court premises. The bench noted that such conduct not only disturbs the decorum of the court, but can also pose serious security concerns. The registry has been directed to notify all high courts to enforce this ban. Meanwhile, the Supreme Court underscored that any approach which undermines the spirit of Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act of 2016 defeats its very purpose. The court specifically asked the union government to clarify whether appropriate measures have been taken to ensure that persons with disabilities who score above the general cutoff marks receive upward movement by being accommodated within the general category. To strengthen oversight, the court directed the launch of a monitoring initiative titled Project Ability Empowerment. This project has been assigned to 8 national law universities across the country with a mandate to closely track the implementation of the Act. These universities are tasked with submitting a comprehensive report within 6 months. This move signals the court's commitment to not just theoretical rights, but to active accountability and enforcement of disability protections. In a separate matter, the Supreme Court declined to entertain Kangana Ranaut's plea seeking to quash a criminal defamation case filed against her. The case stems from a now-deleted tweet made during the 2021 farmers' protest, in which she wrongly identified an elderly woman protester as a Shaheen Bagh figure and suggested crassly that she was available for 100 rupees. The court made it clear this wasn't a mere retweet. She had added her own comments. Her lawyer claimed she had already issued a clarification, but the bench reminded that such a defense could be raised before the trial court too. When counsel expressed concerns about her safety in Punjab, the court advised her to seek exemption from personal appearance. The petition was eventually withdrawn. The trial in the defamation case will now proceed in Bhatinda. From the Supreme Court, we now turn to the Andhra Pradesh High Court, which has reaffirmed the principle that drivers cannot escape criminal liability merely by blaming the victim. The case involved a bus driver who ran over a 75-year-old woman at a bus station. The driver argued that the woman was partly at fault for moving too close to the bus. But the court held that under criminal law, contributory negligence by the victim does not exonerate the accused. The conviction under Section 304A of the Indian Penal Code was upheld, although the sentence was reduced to 3 months. The judgment reiterates that drivers have a continuing duty of care and that this duty is not diluted even in complex or crowded environments. In another crucial ruling, the Supreme Court has clarified that prisoners serving sentences for the remainder of their natural life are not barred from seeking remission. The court ruled that the right to apply for remission flows both from constitutional powers under Articles 72 and 161 and from applicable remission policies of states. The ruling is especially relevant in cases of sexual violence, where courts often use the remainder of life language to emphasize seriousness. But the court has now said that this does not mean all doors to release are shut. The power to remit is a matter of policy, and courts cannot remove that right altogether. This reinforces that sentencing must always have room for reform, review, and mercy. In another important development, the Madras High Court has directed Dr. MGR Medical University to set up a university-level committee under the Transgender Persons Protection of Rights Rules 2020. The court was hearing a plea from a transgender medical student who alleged harassment and arbitrary withholding of certificates. The student, who goes by the name Vignesh, or their reported alias Gargi, said the college refused to release their original certificates and demanded unjustified fees. The college has now agreed to return the documents and waive dues. The High Court noted that such actions amount to holding a student's future hostage and reiterated the duty of institutions to create accessible mechanisms for grievance redressal, particularly for transgender persons. And finally, the Patna High Court has sharply criticized Bihar's Prohibition and Excise Act of 2016 and related rules of 2021 as draconian, pointing out how some of their seizure, sealing, and confiscation powers are being used in ways that seem completely arbitrary. The bench of Acting Chief Justice P.B. Bajantri and Justice P.D. Singh flagged a disturbing trend where houses or premises were sealed or confiscated simply because liquor was found there, without regard to whether the owner knew about it or not. One case involved Mahendra Prasad Singh, whose rented building's basement allegedly had liquor recovered by a tenant he claimed to have no awareness of. Despite this, the house was sealed under Bihar Prohibition law. The court said this violates basic fairness. It is not acceptable to punish or seize property of someone who had no knowledge of the offence. The court also took issue with how the law mandates a minimum fine of Rs 1 lakh even in cases of very small liquor recovery, no matter whether it's 100 ml or far less. In its view, such minimum penalties combined with broad seizure powers lacking clear guidelines lead to arbitrary outcomes. The judgment ordered that Mahendra Prasad Singh's house be released forthwith. These rulings reflect the evolving legal landscape of our country, a landscape that should ideally characterize itself as one that balances enforcement with fairness, rights with responsibility, and the rule of law with compassion. That's all for this edition of Courts Today. I'm Debojit Das. For full updates, judgments, and more, stay tuned to www.livelawlaw.in. Thank you for listening.